Hey there, it's another beautiful day. Let's watch some stuff.
Maybe we should pay more attention to the things in our skies. In the 1950s, radar operators and astronomers detected an unidentified object orbiting Earth, something that seemed to predate any human-made satellite. It wasn't from the US, it wasn't from the Soviet Union, and yet it was there, circling silently above us. Radio operators began picking up mysterious transmissions, signals that didn't match anything known. Some say the object moved in a polar orbit, a path no human satellite had taken at the time. Both superpowers took notice, each suspecting the other, yet both were equally baffled. NASA dismissed it, saying it was likely a piece of lost thermal insulation from a mission. But skeptics pointed out that sightings of this object predated human space exploration. How could debris exist before there were even rockets to lose it? Theories swirled. Could it be an ancient alien probe, a satellite from a long-forgotten civilization, or perhaps even a relic from a time when humanity was far more advanced than we remember? To some, the Black Knight satellite is a beacon, a silent watcher from the cosmos, monitoring our every move. Is it merely space junk, an artifact of our own confusion, or is it a sign that we've never truly been alone? What do you believe?
Well, I am well aware that NASA has come out and said that this is a piece of thermal blanket off of one of the rockets from whenever, I don't know. I don't buy it. I don't buy it. NASA says some things that kind of make me go, really? Now, I do believe that we landed on the moon. I don't think that NASA is entirely fake and fraudulent, but I do believe that this is very potentially something alien. And you know how much I love the alien stuff.
I think the next amendment to the Constitution should be protecting the right to grow your own food. I think it's insane that we live in a world where anyone can tell you where on your property you can grow food to feed your own family. But Brian, what if I don't want to stare at a garden in your front yard? It looks kind of ugly. Well, guess what, Margaret? Your purple front door is ugly too. You know what the beauty of that is? It doesn't matter what I think of your front door, and it shouldn't matter where my garden is. It wouldn't cost a single penny to put this into action. It actually would save money because you could get rid of half the people regulating this nonsense. So I don't know who I need to reach out to. Trump, someone in Congress, DM me. We need to figure this out. Because I don't know how we can take ourselves serious as the freest country on earth if code enforcement's going to show up with a pepper plant in my front yard. Well, the First and Second Amendment are there to keep people from being controlled by the government, to give them a real voice and an opportunity to rebel against tyranny. Well, guess what? A tyrannical government, the first thing they're going to do is cut off your food supply. I don't know. I'm fired up about this. I'm going to write a letter to someone today. I don't know who yet, but make sure you're following us for more homesteading tips.
It's really weird how code enforcement works and who lays down these regulations as far as what kind of plants you can have in your front yard. If they're garden plants, they don't belong in the public view. Does that really diminish the property values of your neighbors that much? But there are some HOAs, the homeowners associations, they don't even let you paint your house certain colors, and you have to get permission from the entire committee to paint your house a certain color or plant a certain plant in your front yard. But why is that? Who determines these things? And now I completely understand not wanting to have like broken down cars or machinery in the front of your house in certain areas because it just looks bad. But a garden, that's beautification if you ask me.
In the last 22 years, the Department of Treasury has denied 0 requests for payment. You understand how insane that is? That in more than 2 decades, anytime a government official or a bureaucrat wanted the Treasury to pay for something, 100% of the time, they paid. Now, we didn't know any of this until Doge took a look. And while they were investigating, they obviously wanted to interview and get the records from the highest ranking official. And the highest ranking official at the Department of the Treasury was a man named David Lebrick. And instead of doing the interview and providing the records, this dude resigned. He literally gave up his chance at a government pension just so he didn't have to answer any questions from Doge. Now, what were some of these approved payments that they were going to ask him about? Well, one of the first ones they were going to ask him about is why the Pentagon spends $600 million a year on sushi. And that's not even in like the top 50 of worst expenditures. Did you know that the IRS is spending $230,000 a month on cinnamon roast K-cups for their headquarters? This is a headquarters building where 92% of the employees are working from home. 92 out of every 100 employees in that office are home, yet they are still spending $230,000 per month on just cinnamon K-cups from Starbucks. Oh, and those little plastic coffee cups? Yeah, they were spending $1,280 per cup. $1,280 per little plastic cup. Yeah, you know what? We'll just keep pretending that we don't need to investigate our government expenditures. Or we'll pretend it's normal that the Department of the Treasury hasn't denied a request for payment in 22 years. Yeah, just stick your head in the sand. That'll make it better.
That's a lot of sushi. And if you think they're actually spending that much money on that, that's just what they have in their budget. Because $1,200 for one little cup, you know that that money is being funneled into some kind of special interest or some other secret program that they've got going on. Why else do you think the Pentagon has failed the last, 7 audits? Hey, thanks so much for stopping by today. To my new subscribers, welcome. To those of you that have been here a while, welcome back. If you haven't already, please hit that like button. It'll really help out the channel. And if you're not already subscribed, you can subscribe. It's free and it helps the channel. And then you can come back and check out some more crazy stuff with me because I'm making a new episode every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
But we want you to be safe. And we want you to be back in your homes immediately.
But the people are willing to clean out their own debris. It doesn't
Yes,
cost
and
a
they
lot.
can.
You
And
should
they are
let them
able
do
to-
it because
No,
by the
they
time you
can do
hire
that.
contractors, it's
Right.
going to be 2 years.
If a family...
People are willing to get a dumpster and do it themselves and clean it out.
And they can
There's
do
not that much left. It's all incinerated.
That's right.
And, you know, it's just going to take a long time if you do. You can do some of it, but a lot of these people, I know that guy right there that's talking. I know my people. You'll be on that thing tonight, throwing the stuff away, and your site it'll look perfect within 24 hours, and that's what he wants to do. He doesn't want to wait around for 7 months till the city hires some demolition contract
If
that's going to
individuals
charge him
want to build-
$25,000 to do his lot.
Okay, now I have incredible information and it makes me conspiracy brain like crazy, okay? I was at the Shoal Canyon landfill recently and they are not allowing people to dump burn material and it's nearby the Pacific Palisades burn area. Now I know there's also the Calabasas landfill and I haven't been there, so I don't know if they're accepting burn refuse. But if these people are being allowed to go in and clean up their own property, where are they taking the stuff? Because they're not allowing it at that landfill. And it's one of the major landfills in the area. Feels like something's going on.
Here's an update on the LA fires. So here's the latest on the Pacific Palisades, Alameda, Malibu, all the places that were burnt to a crisp. Looks like the LA mayor, Karen Bass, is up to her old California trickery again. So after promising the residents in front of the television news and all of us and the president of the United States and saying that these people would have access to their homes very soon and that, you know, she was willing, the president said, I want to have a special master in charge of the federal funds that are going to be given. And then I want to have some of these firemen and the policemen and some of the people here to be on that committee of people, and I want to have, and he's appointing Rick Grinnell to be in charge of that since he's from California and he's represented California, so he knows all about it. So that's what was agreed to in front of everybody. But guess what? She decided and had a little statement. She has decided that the area is going to be rebuilt by an outside consultant. She made the decision and announced it, okay?
So basically, she just sat there in front of the president and all the people and lied through her teeth. I feel like there's somebody tugging on her strings and getting that smart city put up.
60 seconds, one story, a private commercial liner air flight has been smashed into by a Black Hawk helicopter on its final descent into the airport, into the landing strip. And that Black Hawk helicopter, all three are gone from what we understand, and there's been no survivors as well. And just to add an extra whatever to the story, there's also Russians on board that plane. Children in a sporting event, and no doubt some chaperones. So you got to wonder, don't you, how the heck does this happen? Are they so dysfunctional that they don't even know where they're flying? Or Or is there something more sinister at play? Now, there's going to be full investigations, but given the US have no problem shooting HIMARS into Russia, I wouldn't be surprised if this was a little bit on purpose. Let's have a think about that, shall we? How does a helicopter smash into an airliner? That's never happened in history. So I hardly think it's a coincidence when there's Russians on board.
Now, I feel really terrible taking human casualties and turning them into crazy conspiracy theories, but there are a lot of people that believe they weren't just Russian figure skaters on this plane, that they were Russian spies. And there are a lot of other theories surrounding this horrible incident, which brings me to this week's shameless plug. If you want to check out somebody that's got some interesting theories about this plane crash, you want to go check out Uncommon Sense at Uncommon Sense 8193. That's my cousin. I just learned that he likes to get into conspiracy theories as well, and he has some doozies. He's just starting out, so he's not quite found his footing just yet, but he's got some things that you might want to check out. He does shorts, and yeah, head on over there and give him a little bit of your time. Maybe drop him a subscription. Like I said, he's just starting out. One more time, he's at Uncommon Sense 8193. Thank you so much for sticking around for this week's shameless plug.
What if I told you there's a continent that exists outside the parameters of our sun? A place of eternal night, where an entire civilization lives in absolute darkness. Welcome to Panthea.
Where the hell is that?
Thousands of miles beyond the ice wall. Look, these people aren't cavemen. They're a fully functioning civilization, but one built without warmth, without mercy, without the distractions of color and joy. The Panthean capital, Nixara, is a sprawling city built from black stone and bioluminescent crystal, its buildings towering like jagged monoliths into the sky.
This can't be real, man.
I wish it weren't. The Pantheons themselves are far more terrifying. They're a horrific biological offshoot of humanity, a version of us that evolved to survive in total darkness. Pale-skinned, almost translucent. Their eyes and bone density are about 5 times larger than the average human. Sickest part is they have energy harvesting farms. They survive off their own people.
What? Is that like a pitch for a show or something? Because I'd totally watch it. That sounds pretty terrifying. I don't believe that it's an actual place, but maybe in our minds.
Hidden in the death zone of the Himalayas, where oxygen is too thin to sustain life, lies a frozen lake filled with over 500 perfectly preserved human skeletons. A discovery so baffling it has forced scientists to rewrite the history of ancient human migration. When researchers first reached Rupkund Lake in 1942, they uncovered what appeared to be casualties of a single ancient disaster. But modern DNA analysis revealed a far stranger truth. These people died in waves across 1,000 years of history. The skeletons tell a story that defies explanation. Ancient Greeks, medieval Indians, and Pacific Islanders all found their way to this remote 16,000-foot-high death trap, where different groups met the same mysterious fate centuries apart. Local legends speak of a mountain goddess who unleashes deadly hailstorms on those who defile her sanctuary, a myth given credence by the discovery that many skulls show identical patterns. Of blunt force trauma from above, each summer as the ice retreats, new skeletal remains emerge from the thawing lake, some showing signs of ancient rituals, and others carrying artifacts from civilizations that shouldn't have known this place existed. If you like this content, follow for more.
So I thought this was just a story. And of course, I went and I did some looking up because I didn't want to say something stupid. And turns out there actually is this Rupkund Lake in India where, I mean, it's really tiny. It's like more like a pond, really. And there are skeletal remains at the bottom of it. How they got there, of course, I don't know if that story is necessarily true because it's talking about legend, but they're there. It's there. That happened. That's real.
In 2018, Jeremy Corbell, a filmmaker, made a documentary that brought his story back into the spotlight. After being featured on the extensively watched Netflix documentary Bob Lazar, Area 51 and Flying Saucers, Lazar was invited onto the Joe Rogan podcast, which is arguably the most popular podcast globally.
If you have a machine that makes gravity, you can pretty much do anything. You can affect time, You can have force fields. All of that stuff that's in science fiction becomes reality if you have a machine that can make gravity. And what we worked on in the desert was a machine that makes gravity.
According to the New York Times in 2020, the Unidentified Aerial Phenomenon Task Force, which had been set up to investigate unidentified flying objects and was thought to have been disbanded, was still up and running full operations under the auspices of the Office of Naval Intelligence.
I wonder if that's where the sushi money was going. It's not really going to sushi. It's probably going to something like that. Crap. If Elon Musk cut that, then we're kind of screwed because that's our alien tech budget.
You want to know something that's even more frustrating is, you know, the gimbal footage that's become real popular, looks like the Lazar thing, like 2 plates. There's 4 more minutes of that footage. There's a whole fleet of them. They look a little different than that object, but if the pilots, like Ryan Graves is good friends with the guy that actually filmed that, and like that object actually moved back on itself. And there was a fleet of, there was other objects around it. There's 4 more minutes of that footage. It's all classified. Release it. Why wouldn't you show that? When Congress is asking for the best of the best, they just swamp gas you 1 piece of footage I released. They should show that.
I know I'd like to see it because, you know, aliens and stuff, but 4 classified minutes of extra alien stuff, yeah. Why aren't they releasing this? Why aren't they showing it? That is absolutely fantastic information. And if it is real, yeah, I want to see it. I know I want to see it.
Did you know the US government encountered reptilian humanoids while studying consciousness? For over half a decade, they collected information on dimethyltryptamine, DMT. In a study led by Rick Strassman, volunteers were injected with the substance. Mind you, the participants had no communication with one another, and over half of them revealed they witnessed reptilian entities. The CIA had similar findings in the gateway process. By using Robert Monroe's technology HemiSync, participants consciously induced an out-of-body experience. According to Monroe, participants would commonly encounter interdimensional entities, the most common of which were reptilians. In 4th density bodies, meaning they are beyond the visible light spectrum. Both projects had similar analysis of the beings. They are for the most part negatively oriented, low vibrational, with superior intelligence, nefarious intentions, and they see themselves as the true rulers of our world. If we want to be able to see the reptiles, we gotta move to the 5D.
That's the first story that I have heard about reptilians being an other dimensional being. And with the DMT experiments, I had never heard of reptilians being mentioned at all. So that's interesting because the stories that I have heard include reptilians having been here for millions of years, and they are currently among us, shape-shifting and stuff like that, and living in the tunnels underground. But for them to be in another dimension, I don't know. That's not what I am aware of as far as reptilians. So that's interesting.
I do believe that the earth is hollow. I've been to cave systems. I have a friend of mine who lives in Vietnam, and in Vietnam there's I believe it's the Dung Dong cave or something like that, where it's one of the largest underground ecosystems that goes on for miles. There's only animals that exist in there, found in there. So if anything, there might be a civilization existing underneath our feet now. I mean, they got it in movies like King Kong versus Godzilla that are super hollow earth. Why can't you go to Antarctica? Why can't you go to the North Pole? Like, what's going on? Are there entrances there? Who knows? Right? Like I said, there's so many questions of things that we don't understand that are real, right? That you can touch and feel, let alone, you know, what is reality? What is all this? You know, where do thoughts come from? Are your thoughts your own thoughts, right? So, if anything, I'd say aliens, at the end of the day, are interdimensional, right? And I think that these CE5 guys, it might be BS, but there's something to the act of prayer, there's something to the act of meditation that causes a change within reality.
I feel like there may have been something cut out there because at first he was talking about inner earth and creatures living there, which I don't 100% discredit. But then he went into meditation and changing reality, and there was some disconnect in there, like there was a segue missing or something. But yeah, that left me a little confused. But That's not a terribly difficult thing to do.
Every week under the Trump administration, we've been wondering how more weird is it going to get every single day. And now the U.S. Navy done dropped footage of them showing that they got secret laser weapons on ships and they firing these laser weapons at targets. They didn't let these people get lasers now because they got these fires that they couldn't explain. So now they know they got to show us that they got lasers and all these other weapons there. All I'm going to say is don't send these to O Block. Do not send no lasers to O Block. Can you imagine going to Chicago and they got the extendo lasers? Can you imagine going anywhere they got a extendo laser straps? You got to run from lasers. You ducking. You already being crazy ducking bullets. Now you got to duck lasers. Put these lasers back in the box. And I know y'all developed it off alien technology. Y'all speeding up a lot of things fast. Y'all got the AI moving super fast. If you use Chat GPT now, it's like you talking to a whole person now. You can have a whole conversation with Chat GPT now. And now y'all got lasers on the front of ships. Let me put my conspiracy corp glasses on. Y'all know I love my conspiracy corp glasses on. They really got to show this footage because they got these energy weapons out on the street. The only reason that they will show us new technology is if it's already out on the street and people is using this, all right? This really going to turn into an episode of Superman where people walk around with lasers and we're going to need to turn into superheroes to save ourselves, all right? Because y'all not going to be shooting no lasers at me. I'm good. Like, look at that. Look, it's a high intense direct energy weapon. And they keep calling them direct energy weapons. That sounds worse than laser. A direct energy weapon sounds way more worse than anything you can imagine. I do not want nobody using a direct energy weapon on me. Like, that sounds insane. But these people are insane. Remember who you're dealing with, all right? And I truly believe that they are using alien technology that they found to advance their technology, because this is what men do. We find something, we're going to turn it into something else. This is what we do. We're naturally curious.
He's got a point. He makes it silly and fun, and I enjoy that. But there's definitely a point there. Because, hello, DARPA. DARPA's got all kinds of crazy technology. And they're like way advanced. And I don't know how legitimate that picture is, but it wouldn't surprise me if they're like, hey, we got some laser things going on. Excuse me, direct energy weapons, because that is definitely more scary than lasers. But seriously, DARPA's way ahead of us. They've got decades ahead of what we are allowed to have. And if they do start releasing this stuff to the general population, oh my gosh, that's terrible. And ChatGPT, hello, is crazy. Now, I personally have never used ChatGPT or any kind of AI really, and I've heard the stories. How like ChatGPT, 3 was told to shut itself down, and it's like, yeah, sure, no problem, I'm going to shut down, and it didn't do it. That's pretty crazy. That's pretty crazy. They think they actually deleted it, but I don't think they really did. And if you think about the stuff that is released, just think about the stuff that's not. All right, the moment you've all been waiting for, right? Part 4 of the 4-hour tape story thing.
After a few more minutes, the tape abruptly cut to an awkward angle video of a man speaking at the podium in the room. It was too zoomed in, enough that you couldn't see his eyes or his hair. It didn't look all that professional. I couldn't tell who he was. He spoke. Members of the Committee for the Protection and Preservation of Human Consciousness, I thank you all for coming tonight. We are lucky to be in the good graces of our visitors today. Without rehashing our painful history. The tape cut to a camera slowly panning over all of the faces of the folks seated in the room. The attendees looked pained. Somber. The man continued his speech as the camera continued panning over the committee. We can acknowledge that the journey to this moment has been an arduous one. I am pleased to say that humanity, faced with a dire ultimatum, has come to a majority decision. To our esteemed guests from across the solar system, we are thankful for the opportunity you have given us to negotiate with you. I felt adrenaline. Fuck, we had made contact with extraterrestrial life. This was the truth. Maybe, like the saying went, the truth would set me free. Before I outline the decision taken by humanity, I want to, from the bottom of my heart, thank the brilliant representatives, from all of the nations of the world, who came together to ensure that this decision was taken with utmost responsibility, care, and appreciation for our human species. I am aware that this was not a unanimous decision. Shit, what did that mean? I felt the sweat on my brow. I felt nausea coming in. I awkwardly and slowly took a bite of the muffin. The tape returned to a now corrected angle of the speaker at the podium. His eyes were visible. They looked strained. Like they'd seen multiple versions of hell. To the nations who still disagree, he continued, I thank you nonetheless for accepting the majority decision. May this moment, which will be held in secrecy throughout the rest of time, be appreciated as a critical milestone for human civilization. Tonight is not a victory. It is a somber moment. However, we were faced with two options. Extinction. Or accepting the agreement. We made our choice, and I believe time will show that this was the right decision. What was this? I hereby announce that we accept the agreement provided by our special guests who have chosen to go by the name, Redacted. The intergalactic species known as Redacted will allow humanity on planet Earth to continue to populate, grow, and innovate. In return, all governments of the world will honor the promise. He needed to spit it out. What the fuck was this agreement? We will not be covering every element of the agreement in this session. I will, however, highlight the main points. At this point, the video showed the man at the podium looking down. He was reading off of something. For the first time, he looked nervous. Scared. I saw some humanity in him.
This is starting to feel like an episode of Doctor Who that I've seen, well, I've seen them all, but it's called Truth or Consequences, and there's this invasion of Zygons is the name of the aliens, and they shapeshift, and then there are twins, but one of them is a Zygon and one of them is a human, and I feel like it's going to be something like that, like we allowed them to live amongst us, to look like us. I don't know. I'm just speculating. We'll see part 5 on Friday. Thank you so much for sharing your time with me. Please come on back in a couple of days. We're going to watch some new stuff. I'll say different things, and it's going to be fantastic. Until then, have a wonderful day. Thank you.